An NFL insider has revealed the newest trade target for the Dallas Cowboys, and Dallas Cowboys fans need to be excited for this player who can fit that major gap in the pass rushing department, who was traded out the door just before the season started, and we have to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Cowboys Football 365. If you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, hit that subscribe button. But let's get right into the news for today. Coming from Dove Kleinman on Twitter, breaking, I know it's not really breaking now, but the Dallas Cowboys have reached out to the Raiders about a potential trade for Maxx Crosby per @Wingaz. This would make the Dallas Cowboys an instant Super Bowl contender. Now, I'm sure if you are a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, you would know that right before the season started, Jerry Jones traded away Micah Parsons, the franchise cornerstone at defensive end, and right now the Dallas Cowboys defense is paying for it all over the field, giving up the most yards per game in the entire league. If we're looking at what is going on with yards per game allowed, the Dallas Cowboys are ranked 32nd, dead last, so they need an increase in what they're looking at on the defensive side of the football. You may recognize some other bad defenses up there with them in the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, but the Baltimore Ravens are down 9 of their starters on the defensive side of the football. The Dallas Cowboys have no such excuse, but luckily, so far we do have Dak Precott, who is leading the NFL's best offense in terms of yards per game. You know, it's like the yin and yang. Most yards allowed, but also most yards gained. So you love what Dak Prescott is doing, but this team will end up maybe like the Cincinnati Bengals of last year if they're not able to be better on the defensive side of the football. So enter Mad Maxx Crosby, currently an Oakland Raider, coming out of the University of Eastern Michigan via a day 3 pick. The man, big dude, 6'5", 255 pounds, 28 tackles on the season, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble. Maxx Crosby is a man who needs zero introduction, an absolute monster on the football field, and the Dallas Cowboys have reached out to see if the Raiders have any interest in dealing their star player. Now, the Raiders are greatly struggling right now, so you have to imagine some of their older guys will be on the trade block when week 8 is rolling around and when that trade block officially really heats up. But currently, the Raiders are saying they have no interest in trading their franchise cornerstone, although they just lost 31-0 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So you have to imagine some of their older players will be available for trade. Jacoby Myers requested a trade. Obviously, the Dallas Cowboys are not going to be looking at Jacoby Myers, but you have to wonder if Jerry Jones is looking to make a splash in free agency in the trade market after what happened in the trade preseason. With Micah Parsons going out the door, there was a humongous gap left behind in the Dallas defense, not only the pass rush, but Jerry Jones said that he got rid of Micah Parsons because this team needed more run stuffing. So brought in Kenny Clark as part of the trade. It was 2 firsts. Kenny Clark is what the Dallas Cowboys received for Micah Parsons. But so you have to ask yourself, does Jerry Jones see Maxx Crosby as an all-around player, not just purely a pass rusher, which is important because we know if Jerry Jones thinks that Maxx Crosby is only a pass rusher, then he's not going to trade for him. He's going to say, we got to stop the run first, and then we'll deal with the pass, and then he's not going to go get him. But clearly, if the Cowboys are going out and offering or just calling on Maxx Crosby, that means that Jerry Jones does see Maxx Crosby as an all-around monster and a very well-rounded player who is a run stuffer as well as someone who can get after the passer, and that's why they're interested in going to go get him because, like I said, Dak Prescott needs help. He can't do it by himself. Ceedee Lamb just coming back this last week versus the Washington Commanders from his early ankle injury suffered earlier on in the season. You'll love to see what the Dallas Cowboys are doing, and Jerry Jones has to be feeling himself after that George Pickens trade, which is coming around to be one of the biggest moves of the offseason, even though it was a little bit unheralded at the time. People were saying this is a wide receiver with some, attitude issues in the past. And why is Pittsburgh historically a franchise that makes really good decisions? Why are they letting a player of a premier position of wide receiver, why are they going to go let him walk? Why Why are they going to trade him to another team? And right now, we don't really know. We know earlier in the season, there were a couple plays on film where George Pickens may have been, not blocking in the run or just walking, or not walking, but running his routes slower than he really should have been running them when he knew the football was not going to be thrown his way. But George Pickens is really shaping up to be one of the best wide receivers in football this season. I'm not going to sit here and be like, he's an elite receiver. He is, he's Justin Jefferson, he's Jamar Chase, but he's playing just as well as those guys right now. Dak Prescott in this offense, they're up and humming, and George Pickens gives our offense a dynamic that it didn't really have before. Yes, Ceedee Lamb can go deep, but Ceedee Lamb is always going to have safety help over the top because they know how dangerous of a player he is. Now, George Pickens on the other side, maybe his route running isn't as good as Ceedee Lamb's. Well, it's not maybe, it definitely isn't, but he's a fantastic contested catcher of the football. He makes up for it with freakish athleticism, making crazy contested catches, crazy big plays. Always a threat to make a huge play is George Pickens. And you have to imagine Jerry Jones is looking for the next move that he can make that will be praised, because we know Jerry Jones, he loves making those splash moves. He wants to always make sure that the Dallas Cowboys are the number one talking show of the number one point of every single talking show that he can possibly make them. He wants to make sure that no one can talk enough about the Dallas Cowboys. And for that to happen, he has to make big time moves. He has to make splashes in the trade market, in free agency, in the draft. He's got to do things that are going to turn the eyes of the media over to the Dallas Cowboys, and trading for Maxx Crosby would be the perfect move to go ahead and accomplish that decision. You may ask, what is Maxx Crosby going to cost? He's going to be extremely, extremely expensive. The thing is, this team, we now have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 seasons, 2 of our own, and then the 2 Green Bay Packers first that were picked up in the Micah Parsons deal. Maxx Crosby should be cheaper than Micah Parsons in terms of draft capital, because Micah Parsons was only 24 years old, significantly younger than the much older Maxx Crosby. But you can argue Maxx Crosby has more experience, and I'm sure Jerry Jones is really talking up the fact that he's a well-rounded player. I mean, it's the trade happened over a month ago. You can either agree with Jerry Jones or not for trading Micah Parsons. Maybe he overrated the fact that I'm not going to say he struggled in run defense, because Micah Parsons really wasn't a bad run defender. I really don't agree with Jerry Jones on that point, but if he loves Maxx Crosby, and he should love Maxx Crosby, this needs to be a player that the Dallas Cowboys are all in on. They have to make sure that they are pushing the envelope, sending a highly competitive offer to entice the Raiders to move this player, even though he's one of the franchise cornerstones. Just 2 years ago, when they had their interim head coach, Maxx Crosby threatened to demand a trade if the interim head coach was not kept on long-term with the Raiders as the head coach. And the Raiders complied because they were afraid of what Maxx Crosby was going to do if they didn't comply to his demands and do exactly what he was asking them to do. Now, that head coach was out after a year, didn't work out at all as the long-term head coach, but Maxx Crosby has a lot of sway. He is someone who is a franchise cornerstone, great culture guy, great on the field, off the field, the exact kind of player that you want leading your defense, and he would be a perfect pickup for this Dallas Cowboys defense. So even though that right now they're saying they're not open to trading him, things change very quickly in the NFL. And if they come out, I guess they can't come out and lay an egg this weekend because the Raiders have a bye. You know that if you're like me and have Brock Bowers in fantasy, who is just absolutely not doing anything right now because he's injured. But the Raiders, if they continue to play poorly on Sundays, you have to imagine Maxx Crosby will become more and more available, and the Dallas Cowboys will be watching the situation very closely. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, first of all, thank you for watching the video. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And this is the first video, so you're going to have to be new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Want to hear more daily news, Dallas Cowboys, just talking Dallas Cowboys football. Let's get it. Thanks for watching. Go Cowboys.